Hey everybody, welcome to BioGlitch YouTube channel. Today we're diving into the basics of HTML. Whether you're a complete beginner or just need a refresher course, this video is definitely for you. By the end of this tutorial, we're just going to create a very simple web page from scratch, and we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals of HTML. So without further ado, let's get started. First things first is, what exactly is HTML, or what does HTML stand for? Well, HTML means hypertext markup language, which is technically the coding language for HTML structure or documents. HTML elements are the building blocks of web pages, which is what we'll learn in just a few, and that is what you see displayed inside of your web browser. Pretty much the basic structure of an HTML document is what you see right here on the screen. So it always starts with the declaration of a doc type or a document type, which is HTML. That lets the browser know this is an HTML document. And then after that, we have the HTML tag itself, which holds two very important tags, or two important sections. And that's going to be the head section and the body section. The head section is going to contain all of our metadata, the links to our cascading style sheets, our APIs, descriptions for our web page, and APIs for changing your fonts from Google and many other things of that nature. We'll get into that in later videos. Their body tag is going to contain everything that is displayed inside of the web browser right here. If you see, we don't have that anything displayed yet, but we will shortly. If you haven't watched our video on setting up Visual Studio Code for web development, please go watch that video immediately so you can have the proper extensions installed, like Live Server by Ritwig Day, so that you can follow along appropriately and be able to keep up with us in the tutorial. So I'm going to move pretty fast here, right? So everything that you're going to learn in this video is pretty much based off of our book, and that's on our website at clarencescott.tech. If you go to the shop, you can find Intro to HTML, and that's pretty much what all of this is based off of. It's just a little more quick and a little more detailed as far as laying out actual hands-on training here. So let's get started by building a simple web page, and we're going to start off, and I'm going to describe things as we go along, but we're going to start off with just getting our hands dirty, getting our feet wet with it, right? So let's start off with a comment. The way that you comment in HTML is a less than sign, exclamation point, and two hyphens, and then Visual Studio Code to finish the rest for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a header section with a navigation menu and a title, or a level 1 header. And then we're going to have a main section, or a main element, with 3 section elements for HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We're going to end it with a footer, and then we're going to add some cascading style sheets to style it just a little bit. And then we're going to do some JavaScript just to give it a little more life, because we're going to make it interactive throughout the later videos that we're going to have coming. So just to start, we're going to have a comment that lets whatever developer that's going to see our code know this is the header section, right? So let's type that. This is the header section of my web page. So I'm going to push save, and then I'm going to push go live, and bring that over here. Close that. You see modern web page is from the title of here, right? That's what's going to show in our tab bar, that title. And then right here, that comment doesn't show inside of here. So let's go ahead and add some meats and potatoes to our element here, or to our document here. Let's go header, because we're going to have a header element. And then we're going to do a level 1 heading. And pretty much in this level 1 heading, what we're going to do is pretty much reiterate or call out what the title of the page is. So we're going to do modern web page tutorial. And then I'm going to do a quick save just so I don't lose my work if anything happens. And next I'm going to make a navigation menu. So what I'm going to do is nav for navigation menu, but before you push enter, let's do a greater than sign. And what this is going to say is inside of this navigation menu. So we got the navigation menu, then inside of it I want an unordered list. But we're not going to stop there, because inside of this unordered list, what I want is 3 list items. So I want to do a list item times 3. And inside of these list items, I want to put an anchor for placing in a link or some type of what we're making here is a directory. So we're going to link to different elements in our web page. So I'm going to do link, and then what I'm going to do is just type the word link inside of there just to give it some filler text with some angle brackets here. So if you pay attention to what I just did, what we did is we made a navigation element with an unordered list that contains 3 list items that all have a link anchor inside of them. So I'm going to push enter, and as you see, all 3 of those are made. I'm going to do a quick save, and since I'm running the live server, they automatically update it inside of my web page, right? And if you click those, then you'll see, it says it's blocked or whatever. And that's because it's looking for some type of HTTP or hypertext protocol that hasn't been initiated or referenced. So what I'm going to do is just backspace those, and of course I messed up. I'm just going to backspace those, and if I can properly do what I'm supposed to do here, I'm just going to do hashtag symbol there. I'm going to delete that 4th one. I'm going to put a hashtag symbol there, and what that's going to do is be able to allow us to click our links just to make sure that they're functioning and that they're getting received correctly. And that's pretty much the basis of our header and our navigation menu, because all we're going to do in this navigation menu is we just want to have the ability to click these links, and we want it to be organized and structured properly. So let's go ahead and add some text in here. We're going to do HTML basics for the first link, CSS basics for the second link, and JavaScript basics for the third link. And then for the anchor, we're going to do HTML for this one, do CSS for the second one, and then JS for the third one, and click save. So if you hover over these and you look down here in this corner here, you'll see it says HTML, and it has the next to the hashtag, CSS for CSS, and then JS for JavaScript. That lets us know that our links are functioning correctly, and we're able to move on now. Let's do another comment. We're going to say this is the main section of my web page. And then I'm going to put a comment under that says this will contain 3 sections: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what I'm going to do is type in the main element, the element for the main. I'm going to do that, and inside of here I'm going to do a section, but remember we can do section and then we can do the hashtag, because I'm going to do an ID for 3 of them. Then I'm just going to say main, and then I'm going to do multiplier times 3. That's going to give me 3 sections with the name ID. But how about this? Let's take it a little further. Let's do times 3, and then inside of each of these with that name, right, we want to have a H2 and so plus a paragraph. So what that does is that gives us that H2, a level 2 heading, and a paragraph in each of these. And now we don't have to physically type out each of these sections that we're going to do, because remember, we're doing one for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So with that being said, let's start off with HTML. And of course, we're going to take name HTML basics and the level 2 heading. And then we're just going to add some quick text, right? So HTML, or what it says, hypertext markup language, is the standard markup language for creating web pages. It describes the structure of a web page. Right? Push save, and we'll see that's saved right there. Right? Let's do the same thing for CSS. Here we'll say CSS basics in our level 2 heading, and then we'll say CSS or cascading style sheets is used to style and lay out web pages. It controls the color, font, and spacing of your content. Right? And then of course, you've guessed it, we're going to do the same thing for JavaScript. Got a little happy-handed there. And we're going to do JavaScript basics for our level 2 heading. We're going to do JavaScript is a programming language that adds interactivity to your website. It can update and change both HTML and CSS. Do a quick save, and if you check, you see those 3 elements are there with all of their children elements inside of them. We're going to add one more thing to the JavaScript section because it wouldn't be JavaScript if we're not giving JavaScript something to work with. That's going to be a button element, and we're just going to give it the ID of JS or JavaScript button, and then we're going to do the enter button and type click me. We're going to save that. Now, what we've done is, if you click this button, you'll see it functions as a button, but it doesn't do anything yet. So let's add a final element inside of here, and that's going to be the footer section. All right, so go ahead and make a comment, and then we're going to type footer. And of course, in our footer, we're going to do 2024 modern web page tutorial. Can't believe I messed that up. And don't need that. And we're going to get a little fancy here, and I'm going to do the copy sign with the ampersand, the word copy, and then semicolon. And if you do a save, you will see you get the copyright sign there. Now, that's just us getting fancy and working with our document, learning some extra things there. Now that you've learned how to use HTML to structure your web page, we're going to learn how we can link our cascading style sheets and our JavaScript to our web page so we can do some styling and some interactivity. We're going to do a very, very basic version of styling here, and we're going to do a very, very basic version of interactivity because in later videos, we're going to develop this web page to pretty much work like a book for our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript notes, and then we'll add other programming languages as we go along. So first things first, let's add our JavaScript source element down here, and that's going to be our script.js file. So if you haven't made your script.js file, go ahead and make a script.js file with the new file tab here. And we're going to put it down here. The reason why we're going to put it down here is because that's the only way we can get this with this layout. That's how we're going to get this to function properly with our JavaScript. There are other instances where you can put your script file up here and it will work a lot better or a lot differently. And we can use defer tags and or defer attributes and many other things. But for now, we're going to worry about keeping it down here just to follow the structure of our web page. And then to link our CSS, our cascading style sheets, we type link, the colon, and then CSS and Visual Studio Code, and you click save, and you see that it already has a file named style.css there, and that's what we have here. And as you see, I've already have those two open. So now that you've learned how to structure your web page, let's design our web page. First, the main thing I want you to focus on when you're styling your web page with CSS is, in CSS, you're going to call out your elements. So if you want to style the body, you call a body. You want to style the header, you call a header. If you want to style your H1 element inside your header, you will say header H1. If you want to style this section for HTML specifically, then you would just do the ID or hashtag for HTML. If you remember, we did section hashtag HTML. That hashtag is what we'll use inside the style sheets to style this specifically when that time comes. Same thing for JS button and the CSS section, so on and so forth. So let's get started. So let's start with our body, right? So remember, we call our body, then we do curly brackets, and then we're going to go with some font first. We're going to do font family, and then we'll do Arial and Helvetica. And you see, we get this. You know what? I think I'm going to go with something else. choose what you please. I'm gonna go with the Georgia and Times New Roman. Um, and then I'm going to do a margin of 0. So what we want is we want to get rid of this margin over here and up top. So if you see, we got rid of that margin. It's not quite all the way going up top, and we'll get to that when we get to the header. So let's do a padding of 0. That way we don't have any padding in our body. You know, we could do a root padding of 0 and a margin of 0, and that will bring everything really close. But for now, we'll just focus on the body. And then let's change the color. Choose any color that you want, that you're comfortable with. Me personally, I think I want to go with Alice Blue for the background color. I'm sorry, for the background color. I should have typed that. Made sure I typed that right. For the background color, I think I'm going to go with an Alice Blue, or I do want to go a little darker with the blue, just a little darker. I'll do that. I'm going to do this number here, this RGB. Pick any color you want as long as it's a little on the lighter side, because we're going to do a text color of hashtag 333. And that's going to be like a grayish type of color, not too black, because we want to make sure that when we're developing websites, we're being friendly with the eyes as well. Let's make a comment now in CSS. So we do that with the / asterisk, and then we'll say this is the header styling section of my web page. And then we close it with a asterisk and then another / and then let's start with our header. So our header, let's do a background color of the same as our text, which we'll do is hashtag 333. And you see, you get that nice wide thing, nice wide background color there, but you can't see your text, right? So let's fix that. We're going to change our color to white or FFF, and as you see, we get a nice white text there. And then we're going to change our padding, because we want to get that blue space covered up. So let's change our padding to 1 times the initial padding for the top and bottom, and then we don't want any padding on the left and right. That's going to fill in all that white space that we would have had there. And then next, we're going to text align in the center. And if you see, our text is aligned in the center there. So we're looking good. We're moving quick. We're getting this understood. Let's go to our header. And we're going to go for our level 1 heading, or level 1 header in our header. And we do that by typing header and then H1. So if you go back to your document, you go to the header and you initiate the styling for the H1. And the only thing that we're going to change is the margin. And we're going to set the margin to 0. And if you see, that brought us up a little bit because we had that extra space around that element. We don't want any space around that element. Next, we're going to go for the navigation unordered list itself. So remember, we're going to style this unordered list element alone outside of the other children elements inside of it. So for the unordered list, we're going to change the list style type to none, and we're going to change the padding to 0. So, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to change the list style to none, and then the padding to 0. And then next, we're going to go to our nav unordered list items, and then we're going to do a display of inline, and we're going to do save, and then we're going to do a margin of 0 and 10 pixels and save. And it seems like I have an error somewhere in here. For some reason we have an error. List style type none. Oh, see, there we go. This is why it pays to pay attention. So I forgot to follow up. I must have deleted the nav tab there. Okay, sorry about that. So we're gonna do list style none. There we go, and padding 0. Sorry about that. And then we're gonna do nav unordered list item, and then display in line. That's gonna line these up right next to each other. And then with our list items, you have to remember we're doing our list items separately. We're styling them individually. So the next thing we're going to do is set our margin to 0 on the top and then 10 pixels on the left and right. So whenever you're styling the long way here, or the shorthand way that would be, you have top margin. So let's see, you have the top margin, the right margin, the bottom margin, and the left margin. So when we're styling this in 2, you have top, bottom, and then you have right, left. So in other words, we can style the top together and the bottom together with just this 0, and then we can do the left and right with the 10 pixels. If we save it, and you see we have that margin in between those now, and it made it a little more spacious and a little more clean and uniform. Next, let's go for our unordered list item anchors. So inside of each list item, we're going to individually style each of the anchors. And if you hover over it, you will see right now we're going for the anchors. We're targeting the anchors. If you go here, and you see we're getting an unordered list. If you go here, you see we're getting the list items. If you go here, you see we're getting a header. And inside of here, we're getting a header level 1 element. So that's something to keep in mind as you're going, making sure that you're properly doing it, and that you're targeting the right thing. So for our anchors, let's change the color, and of course we're going to go FFF, give it that white color, and then what we're going to do is get that nasty ugly line from under there, and we're going to do text decoration none and save. Now without that line, they still work as regular links would work. And if you see inside of your URL, they definitely indeed do change because they're working links. We're just taking away some of that nasty decoration from it and making it look a little more cleaner. Let's make another comment, and then we'll say this is the main section of my, or the main styling section of my web page. And we'll do a save, and then we'll do main, and then we'll do padding 20 pixels. And what we're doing is we're adding padding 20 pixels from the left, and then 20 pixels on the top and bottom as well, or left and right and top and bottom. And then what we're going to do is max width. So max width is only going to allow this to go a maximum width of 800 pixels, and that's what it is. So you see it's shrunk a little bit. You can have this max width anything you please, anything you want. Just keep in mind that we make it mobile friendly in the future. So now we'll set our margin to auto, and that auto margin is going to put it in the middle. And next we're going to go for our actual sections themselves. So if you go to the section, and remember I showed you earlier, we can style all of these sections together. We can style them all at the same time, all at once. So what we're going to do is change the background of each section to FFF, the white. And then we're going to clean this up a little bit. So we're going to set the margin of these to 20 pixels top and bottom, but we don't want any margin on the left and right. It's going to keep the space in between these consistent. And then we want a padding of 20 pixels. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some space on the inside of each of these elements now, and rather than the outside. Margin focus on the outside of the element, padding is what's on the inside of the element. So if you click save, you'll see we got a nice equal padding, or a nice equal spacing inside of each of these elements here, section elements that is. Next we're going to add a border radius of 9 pixels, and then what that's going to do is round out these corners, round out these edges. So if you click save, you see we got some nice round edges here. It looks nice and neat and uniform. And then we're going to do a box shadow. So when you're working with box shadow, think of it like this: x-axis, y-axis, and then the, what I like to call the z-axis, or how far out your shadow is going to go, and then you'll add your color in. So we're going to do 0 for the y-axis, or 0 for the x-axis, 0 for the y-axis, and then I want it to go out about 20 pixels, and I'm just going to pick the color black. I'm not going to like specify a specific RGB color. I'm just going to do black, and then we'll do 10 pixels on the z-axis. That's my preference, is what I like. I like to see it pop a little bit more, but of course, by all means, you can do whatever you like. You can do 3 pixels if you want. You can do 7 or 6 or whatever. You can do 60 if you want it. So I'm going to stick with 10, and we're going to leave it at that. And then next, I'm just going to do the level 2 heading all by itself, and I'm going to change the color of that to that grayish color, because right now it's still like a black color. But we're going to change it to like that grayish color there and make it a little more easier on the eyes and flow more with the web page. Next, or lastly, what we're going to style is our footer section. So this is the footer styling section of my web page. Now, these are very, very cheap comments and notes inside of our documents. What we're doing is just simply getting used to making comments at the most important parts, right? So what we're doing is we're splitting up. Obviously, we know this is the body, right? But some people might not have a navigation menu in their header. So we're just going to let them know, hey, all of this is the header section of my web page. All of this is the main section of my web page. And then obviously all of this is going to be the footer section of our web page. The first thing we're going to do is a text align in the center for our footer, right? And if you see, it moved from way over here to the middle. Next, we're going to give it a padding of 10 pixels on the top, left, right, and bottom. And we won't be able to see that until we do this next thing here, which is the background color of 333. And that's just going to pretty much fill it in with everything else. And then we're going to, or uniform it with everything else, I should say. And of course, you already know, a color of FFF, and that's it. This is a very, very basic web design and web structure, or HTML structure with a CSS design. Very simple, very basic, straight to the point. Lastly, what we're going to do is what everyone hates the most for some reason, and that's get into some JavaScript, right? We're going to do something very, very simple, very, very easy, extremely understandable. And what we're going to do is just, when we simply click this button, we're going to have a pop-up menu come down that pretty much says, hey, you've clicked the button, right? That simple, just to add some interactivity. We can use this for multiple different things, and I will show you guys in later videos how we can streamline this and also make it even better when we're having individuals interact with our website. So without such a crazy build-up and pointless build-up, let's get into it. What we're going to do is take our button, obviously, and we're going to click the button, obviously, and we're going to have the pop-up menu come down. So let's make a comment in JavaScript with 2 forward slashes. That's how you make a comment, 2 forward slashes. We'll say this is a simple function to create an alert menu, or we'll say an alert, we'll call it an alert bar, to show JavaScript is working, right? So obviously it's not going to show up because it's a comment, but what we're going to do is we're going to reference 3 things at first. We're going to reference the document, the element, and then an event. So what is the document? Well, obviously it's going to be this HTML document. In JavaScript, all you have to do is type document, because it's already connected to the document that it needs to get the element from. So when we say get element by ID, it's looking for inside of here, this document, but it's also secretly speaking to the styles sheet as well. We can get into that in later videos, or if you want, go to clarencescott.tech and pick up that JavaScript book, and you can learn right there. But what we're doing is we're telling the JavaScript, go into the document, get the element with the ID, and we want the ID JS button. So what we do is a parenthesis, we do single quote, and we do JS button, just how we have it inside of our HTML document. From here on out, we don't need to go back to our HTML anymore, because what we're going to do is add an event listener. So what we're doing is we're telling the HTML document, or we're telling JavaScript to listen for an event or look for an event that happens on our HTML document. Well, that event, we're going to put in parentheses, is going to be a click event. So every time someone clicks on this specific element, this JS button, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to create a function, and that function is going to alert or create that pop-up menu that says, congratulations, your JavaScript works. And we're going to do a save, and just as anything else, we're going to put that semicolon at the end there, and make sure we put a semicolon at the end of that event or function there. So let's break this down one more time. What we did is we created a document. So how about this? Let's make a note, and we'll say searching the document for the element, or for the ID JS button. Create it, and, or how about, let's do it in steps. So we'll say search the document for the ID JS button, create it, and click event listener to listen, I guess, or to notice when JS button is clicked. Set an alert menu to inform it works, and then enjoy the fruits of my labor. So now you have step by step what exactly this is doing, and it's pretty simple, right? And then we've created the function here, or we can say created a function to set an alert. So this function right here, right, is to set an alert menu to inform it works, right? So let's click save, and when we click this button, congratulations, your JavaScript works. So you've just simply created some really easy JavaScript, and this can go very far, because you can have this do many other things, like revert to another web page in JavaScript, or as we continue to add more meats and potatoes to these sections here, this JavaScript can open and hide different sections or subtitles or subheadings inside of our document, our elements, and so many other things. In later videos, we're going to build up on this, because I'm going to have you guys add this to your personal portfolio projects, because it's not going to stop here. We're going to add other coding and programming languages along the way. We're going to add our personal projects with some videos and images, things of that nature, and build more on the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript basics. So with that being said, I am so happy that you guys watched this video, stuck along with me. Please like, subscribe, and look out for the next video, because we're going to build on this, and we're going to do some more cool things and make this look a lot better than some textbook web page. See you soon.